Welcome to A Taste of the County, featuring Essex County Wineries and Breweries. This is Episode 1, In the Beginning. I am Bruce Durward, owner of ecwb.ca. Essex County Wineries and Breweries is a one-stop website featuring all Windsor-Essex County wineries and breweries. Travel information, including events, restaurants, and accommodations. A Taste of the County podcast features Essex County wineries and breweries combining culinary creations alongside great local wines and beers. Recipes for each pairings are included weekly on our website. We developed this love for food pairing by having food and drink parties. Bringing the local wineries and breweries on board was the next logical step. Going into our 5th year of food and drink pairing, we have featured over 250 recipes. Promoting not only buying local, but taking a step further to inspire people to cook and pair with wine and beer. We all know cooking from scratch is healthier. Check out our site regularly, have fun, and hope you try a few new things. Each show will touch on wine-beer pairing with examples, pairing techniques, along with a brief history of our local wineries and breweries from Windsor-Essex quickly expanding region. Special guests will enhance our podcast, and you, the listener, can learn some wine terms from each episode. Wine growing area began on Pelee Island back in 1866, called Vinvilla, and it lasted until 1916. World War I and disease brought an end to the early Pelee Island winery and would not be back until 1979. Our region is called Lake Erie North Shore. You know what wines you would like, but how would you describe them? Learn how to use wine tasting terms the right way to get the wine you want. Learning the fundamentals of tasting descriptions will also help you decipher wine writing and let you buy wine more confidently. Using the wine terms to get what you want. Besides referring to wine ratings, tasting terms are the only way that we can quantify what tastes like before we buy it. Learning what these words mean and how you use them yourself is a very powerful skill in order to buy exactly what you want. Some of the most useful wine tasting terms fall into 4 categories: the fruit level, the sweetness level, the body profile, and the finish. This week we are going to look at the fruit level. First things first, you'll want to start identifying the fruit level in the wine. It doesn't matter if the wine is light, rich, sweet, or dry, they can be all categorized by the fruit level. We have many ways of describing fruitiness in the wine, but pretty much wines can be shuffled into 2 primary categories: fruit-forward or savory. A fruit-forward wine, common terms are fruit-driven, sweet attack, flamboyant, sweet tannin. This is the most commonly used word to describe a wine with dominant flavors in the sweet fruit realm. The wine term doesn't mean that the wine is sweet, it just means that they're bursting with sweet fruit smells. A fruit-forward red wine is like sweet raspberry, maraschino cherry, blackberry, blueberry, sweet tobacco, etc. A fruit-forward white wine would be sweet lemon, baked apple, mandarin orange, caramel, vanilla, etc. The savory term calls for earthy, rustic, like a food-friendly or high mineral type. Savory is the earthy or herbaceous wine that are antithesis of forward fruit wines. While these terms don't really do this wine profile justice, they help describe the dominant flavors of the wine if they're not sweet fruit category. It's not that these wines aren't fruity, in fact, it's that they're most loaded with fruit flavors in the tart, sour, or bitter spectrum. For example, imagine biting into a bunch of raw black currants or a cranberry. Savory red wine terms can include cranberry, rhubarb, black currant, wild blueberry, leather, tobacco, charcoal, etc. White wine terms for savory include lime, lemon, bitter almond, green apple, chalk, or grass. A great example of a fruit-forward pairing is Baco Foch served with Ontario lamb and peach salsa. The peach from the salsa matches well with the fruit-forward blackberry and plum-balanced acidity and the garlic salt from the gently oiled lamb. This principle can be referred to as using salty food. A salty food will often increase the perception of the wine's components, just as salt is added to food to enhance flavor. This can be positive or negative. Looking at the 4 basic components of wine, sweet, acid, tannin, and alcohol, they assist selecting the matching of the wine. The best wines for salty foods in general would be low alcohol, fruit-forward wine with little or no tannins, such as a white Riesling or Gewürztraminer or the Baco Noir and a late harvest wine. The ice wine would balance the salty food items. How would you like an entire year of free drinks? Well, now is your chance to win up to $1,200 in LCBO gift cards while supporting a great cause. The Windsor-Essex County Humane Society's popular Cheer for a New Year raffle is back with 5 amazing prizes to be won. Tickets are just 3 for $10 and available at the Humane Society and several shop locations. Check out windsorhumane.org for a full list of participating retail locations. The draw is December 27th, so grab your ticket today and perfect stocking stuffer and have yourself a New Year's Eve to remember. The second tasting term I want to discuss this week is the sweetness level. Wines get their sweetness from residual sugar, which is leftover glucose from grape juice that wasn't completely fermented into alcohol. However, our sense of taste picks up sweetness in varying levels. To keep it simple, most of us characterize sweetness in 4 levels of sweetness. There's bone dry, dry, off dry, and sweet. Bone dry implies extreme dryness with no residual sugar. This is usually accompanied by the presence of astringency. Red wines get astringency from tannin or their savory or bitter fruit flavor. White wines get astringency from the quality that sommeliers and winemakers refer to as bitterness. This is often described like the taste of a grapefruit pit or quince fruit. Dry, still most dry wines fall into the dry category, even though our taste buds might tell us differently. Dry wines range from no residual sugar, 1 gram per 5 ounce serving. Just so you know, most super premium red wine producers have more than 1/3 of a gram of sugar per glass. A quick method of comparison, a packet of sugar in the raw has 5 grams of sugar, or a 5 ounce serving of Coke has 16 grams of sugar. Off-dry, this popular term describes wines with a touch of residual sugar. It can be anywhere from 2 to 3 grams of residual sugar per 5 ounce pour. Most off-dry wines are white wines, although on rare occasions you can find high-quality red Italian wines that fall into the off-dry category. High-acidity wines like Riesling that will taste more dry than a lower acidity wine at the same actual sweetness level. Sweet wines are generally dessert wines and have a wide range of sweetness varying from about 3 to 28 grams of sugar per 5 ounce glass depending on the style. For example, a few of the most lusciously sweet wines in the world include Canadian and German ice wines. An example of a sweet wine pairing would be the Cabernet Franc ice wine that pairs well with dark chocolate. The principle behind this is the sweetness in the food. Many different foods have a touch of sweetness, such as honey glazed ham, sweet potatoes, sautéed onions, beets, and many marinades. A dry wine will appear less sweet or even thin, dull, and tart. However, if the wine is sweet or sweeter than the food, then the sweetness of the food will lower the perception of the sweetness in the wine, thus the balance of the pairing. This also applies with serving wine with dessert, which came back to our Cabernet Franc ice wine pairing well with the dark chocolate. This concludes our first podcast. In the beginning, we encourage you to email us with questions if you'd like us to answer using podcast@ecwb.ca. Join us in the next episode when we continue our list of wine tasting terms and pairings.